Morning Talk on SAFM.
Alrighty, let's turn our attention now to healthy communication in a relationship. Joining us now is Hanan Bushkin. Hanan, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Great, thanks.
So, healthy communication, what is it?
Right, firstly, let me say that this is one of those shows that you want to grab your pen, a piece of paper, and make some notes.
Okay.
Communication is absolutely vital in any relationship, whether it's a business relationship, working relationship, romantic relationship, friendship relationship, because the point is to get your point across and to hear the other person as well. Communication is key. Without communication, we don't have relationships, period. And people think communication is just about talking. It's not just about talking. There's a couple of very small and very significant things that you have to be aware of when you do communicate in order to get it right. So I must say, I mean, in terms of my practice and in terms of what I see, people have horrendous level of communication. They've got no clue on how to do it. And today I'd like to highlight a couple of very important points when it comes to healthy communication. So pen and paper, and this could actually save your marriage, save your friendship, save your relationship with your boss.
Okay.
All right?
So what to do?
Right, number one, I've written down a couple of points, and I've jotted down this first one because it's the most important. Number one, and people take this for granted, but know yourself.
Okay.
How well do you know yourself? Right? So, many people will say, "Oh, of course I know myself. I know what I like, what I don't like." Do you really? Do you really know yourself? And before I question you on how well you know yourself, just understand that if you do not know yourself, how do you expect the person who you're communicating to know you? Just take romantic relationship, for example. If you do not know what you like, what you don't like, how on earth do you expect your partner to figure that out? Do we expect them to be mind readers? Do we expect them to guess? Know yourself. And you won't believe how many people don't know themselves. So I've written down 10 questions that you should answer just like that. You should answer in a split second.
About yourself.
About yourself.
To yourself.
To yourself.
Yeah.
All right. And let's see if you do.
Okay.
All right. You, the listener.
Sure.
What are your goals in life? Could you answer that?
Yeah, I want to be happy.
All right. What makes you feel most satisfied?
And I have a good show on SAFM.
Deepest fear. Okay, you don't have to answer that one.
I just discovered I have got a bit of a phobia for heights, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I got to the 14th floor at a building in East London over the weekend, and because there was no balustrade, I stood there and I felt a bit uncomfortable about it.
And that's your deepest fear?
Yeah.
Okay. Deepest need. Not
Don't
easy, eh? I worry most about ...
Money.
My highest value. Not easy.
Loyalty.
Nice. Money is ... What does money mean to you?
Facilitator.
Nice. I'm passionate about.
Life.
I think God is.
Great.
Right. Now, by the way, we got to know you a lot better now. But by the way, most people have got no clue.
Yeah.
Most people have got no clue. And they might answer these things maybe as you did, but they're actually not sure. They're not 100% sure.
But why is that important?
Because if you don't know yourself, how do you expect your partner to know? If you don't know what you're passionate about, how do you expect your partner to fulfill those needs? If you don't know what you need or what you worry about, what you fear most, how do you expect your partner to understand what you mustn't or he mustn't push, what buttons we must push? How do we fulfill you? Relationships are all about, a large part of it is about fulfillment. And how can I fulfill my partner if they don't even know what they need, if they don't even know what they want? So the first step is know yourself. You have to know yourself.
Okay.
Number two, and this might sound so simple, but you have to state what you want. When you communicate, you have to state what you want.
Okay.
Many people beat around the bush. Many people make stuff up. Many people actually got no clue on what they want. First of all, figure out what you want and state what you want. Do you want your partner to buy you flowers? Do you want your partner to give you compliments? Do you want your partner to be more intimate? Do you want your partner to hug you when you get home? Do you want your partner to kiss you good night? Do you want your partner to make you tea before you go to bed? What do you want? Because especially or men and women, when I ask them, what do you want? What do you want from your partner? And they go, I want them to love me. And then I say, what does that mean? And they go, I don't know, love me, they must love. It means nothing. Know what you want and ask for it.
Okay.
Number 3, and this is a big one. I can't stress how big this one is. Make sure the person gets it.
Okay.
Because what you say and what the other person hears could be completely different things. Whilst I might say to my partner, I want love, they might hear, oh, he's asking for sex. But actually, no, I don't want sex. I want you just to maybe be passionate. I want you to hug me when I get home. I want you to kiss me goodnight. So make sure the person that you speak to gets it.
Yeah.
And how do you know they get it? Ask them, what did you hear me say?
Yeah.
What did you hear me say? So let them repeat it to you. And if they got it, you say you got it. And if they didn't get it, you say it again. No, I didn't mean that. What I meant was A, B, and C. Did you get it now? Let them repeat it to you until they got it. Because it is your job as a communicator to make sure that the other person got the message.
Okay.
As you intended it.
Okay. What's number 4?
Discuss the consequences. And this is something that we're very scared to do. Because once you ask for what you want and you make sure the other person gets it, you must discuss the consequences. Because if there are no consequences, the person's going to take you for granted. So whether it's with a parent-child, a boss, employee, whether it's romantic relationship or friendship. So you got to say, well, look, this is what I need from you. But let's give it a week, let's give it 2 weeks, however long. And if it's not done, what are we going to do about it? Are we going to have this discussion again? Are we going to go for therapy? Are we going to separate? If it's a child, am I going to take your PlayStation away? Am I going to take your car away? Am I going to take your cell phone away?
Yeah.
So discuss the consequences. Now, by the way, the consequences needs to be discussed, not told.
Okay.
So you're not going to turn to your partner and say, if you don't do it, this is what I'm going to do. The message is going to be, if you don't love
me, I'm going to leave you.
Right, no.
Yeah.
You can't do that. So if you don't do A, B, and C, if you don't kiss me, good night. If you don't do A, B, and C that I ask you to do, what should we do?
Yeah.
What should we do? So it's a discussion, not a, this is what I'm going to do. Got it?
Number 5.
Another important one. Listen to the other person's point of view. Listen to the other person's point of view, because we don't want to be dictators when we communicate. You got to ask the person, so what do you think? Where do you stand? What do you need? Am I maybe not fulfilling your needs? Am I maybe not doing what you want me to do?
Okay.
But you got to listen to the other person's point of view. So just to recap, if you're busy writing it down, know yourself, state what you want, make sure the person gets the message as you intended saying it, discuss the consequences, and listen to the other person's point of view. Number 6, know your non-negotiables.
Okay. Know
your non-negotiables. Know the things that you're absolutely not willing to negotiate on. For example, by the way, in any relationship, healthy relationships, we have non-negotiables. There's not such thing as a relationship with no non-negotiables. A relationship with no boundaries and no non-negotiables is an abusive one. If I feel like I don't have boundaries with my partner, then my partner will take advantage. So know what you're not willing to accept. So obviously, you're not willing to accept lying. You're not willing to accept cheating. You're not willing to accept abuse, and maybe something else. Maybe you're not willing to accept things that are maybe negotiable to other people and not to you. For example, you're not willing to accept smoking. A partner that smokes, or you're not willing to accept maybe someone that doesn't like kids.
Yeah.
Know your non-negotiables. And the reason why this is so important is because if you don't know what your non-negotiables are, your partner might actually show them and you'll negotiate them. So your partner might start smoking and you'll be okay with it. Your partner might maybe not like kids and you'll be okay with it. Your partner might start cheating and you'd make excuses for it and be okay with it. Know what you're not willing to negotiate on.
Okay.
So know your non-negotiables. Number 7, the opposite, negotiate your negotiables. Negotiate what you are willing to negotiate on. So don't be so tough, don't be a dictator, don't be like, no, this is the way it is. Yes, that's your attitude with your non-negotiables, but with everything else, it should be up for debate.
Yeah.
In any relationship, and this is very important, there mustn't be too many things that are not negotiable. There must be a lot of things that you negotiate on. So, for example, you can't say to your partner, well, if you don't kiss me hello, then I'm leaving you.
Yeah.
If you don't do this, then I'm leaving you. If you don't do that, no. Have a lot of negotiables and negotiate. So if you don't kiss me hello, how do we work around it? How do we work around it? Because I need to feel the love may be fun. You don't feel comfortable doing that, but maybe you can do something else. Negotiate. Never be a dictator, the type of person that says, this is the way it is.
Okay.
Number 8, and this is very difficult for people. Be honest.
Okay.
Be honest. How many people are so dishonest when they communicate? They're sugar-coated because they're scared of the consequences.
Yeah.
They're scared of hurting the other person. They're scared of the other person maybe leaving them or screaming back or whatever it is, or being nasty. Be honest. In any relationship, in any healthy communication, you want to put all the cards on the table. And the only way that you'll put all the cards on the table is if you are honest.
Okay.
Be honest. Be honest. Say what's on your mind. And by the way, I take you back to step one. In order to be honest, you got to know yourself. Because if you don't know what you need, what you want, what your passions are, what you fear, how can you be honest? So be completely honest.
Okay.
Number 9. Don't bring up the past and stay in the here and now. You know, women are experts at this, eh? Women are experts at bringing up the past. You know, you have a conversation and they remember. They're incredible.
Yeah.
It's an incredible thing because they say, but remember 13 years ago, on the 30th of June, you said A, B, and C. So when you do communicate, don't bring up the past. Stay in the here and now.
But it sounds like you're depriving women of the right to be themselves.
Yeah, well, look, I'm saying with healthy communication, focus on what's happening in the here and now.
Yeah,
because
but,
when you bring up
it's
the
not
past,
isolated from what happened in the past. I mean,
if it is connected, then you can bring it up.
7 years ago, you may have done something that's not been dealt with.
Exactly,
and this person is still carrying this grudge from 7 years ago.
Well, if it's not been resolved, then you can bring it up.
Yeah.
But if it has been resolved and you've forgotten about it, and now you're moving on to a
No,
next
but maybe
topic,
it's been resolved, but you were not happy with the resolution.
Yeah, so it hasn't been resolved. So you need to resolve it. But can you imagine getting into an argument or like, you know, you turn to your wife and you say, you know, babes, I want you to kiss me when I get home. And she says, but remember when I raised this conversation up 24 years ago when we first started dating? That has got nothing to do with the communication. So if it's got nothing to do with what you bring up, stay in the here and now. Stay with what you're discussing.
Don't bring up the past.
Yeah, very important.
What's the last one?
Stay calm.
Yeah, there's another one for you.
Stay calm. If you get emotional, leave the conversation.
Okay.
Resume it at a later stage.
Okay.
So stay calm. The moment you feel you're feeling resent, the moment you feel you're feeling anger, the moment you feel, I'm hyping myself up or my partner's getting hyped up, we call it eject. You eject from the conversation, you let feelings subside, and then you re-engage. But the rule is to always re-engage. Men use this a lot when I tell them this in therapy. They use it to their advantage and say, but Hanan told us we need to disengage. Look, you're getting all emotional.
Yeah.
And what they don't do is they don't return back to the conversation.
Yeah.
And I'm saying to you, if you're going to disengage because you're emotional, perfect, but always have always put the time aside to
come back to it. Okay.
Yes.
Let's hear from Peter Wiley in Grahamstown. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning. I hope you enjoyed your weekend in the Eastern Cape.
It was lovely, thank you.
Right, good weather. Look, I want to make a request to your resident psychologist, Hanan.
Hi.
Okay.
You're all aware of the terrible situation of abuse in this country, mainly by men on women, but also the other way around. Could you consider running a series which may even turn into an advert on radio or on the media on how to handle it and how to get out of it? Because it can also, apart from physical abuse, it can lead to murder. And we have a recent case which has made me sick of the harping on it. And it may not have involved this sort of thing, but it could easily have. But you get involved in a situation and it just goes on and on and on.
Okay.
And we need to be told to get out of it.
Okay.
Whether it's just verbal abuse or actual physical abuse, which can, as I say, lead to murder.
All right. Thanks, Peter. Would you consider running a series like that, Hanan?
Definitely, and I feel it's very, very important because a lot of people, men and women, they actually links to the last point. They're not able to control their feelings, and it goes from very calm feelings from 0 to 100 in a split second.
Yeah.
And by the way, that is how we judge dysfunction. Everyone's able to get to a rage stage when they just see red. Everyone's able to. The Dalai Lama is able to. You're able to. I'm able to. The most calm mother is able to. You hurt her child and she's going to see red. But that's not the point. Everybody's got the ability to get into red. But we see dysfunction as how quickly you go from, let's call it white, 0, to seeing red. And somebody with emotional problems, somebody's got anger issues, can go from 0 to 100. Imagine somebody with road rage.
Yeah.
You know, they'll drive their car, somebody hoots behind them or cuts them off, and they'll go into red in a split second. While somebody who's able to control their feelings will maybe go from white, maybe be a little bit agitated, but be able to put themselves in a position where they can control it. So I think it's a really valuable idea, or very good
something
idea
to
actually.
with.
Yeah, sure, and I can talk about that as well.
Vuyo, if communication is so central and important in a relationship, this one has come through the text message line 34701. How come people like Larry King, the king of talk, has been married and getting divorced 7 times?
Yeah, well, I mean, communication, what they do at work and how they communicate with their partners are 2 different things.
Yeah.
I'm assuming Larry King is not going to turn to their partner and say, oh, so like an interview. No, you don't interview your partner. Communication is a 2-way street.
Yeah.
So what? And I think it's a very valuable point that communication is not just about interviewing and finding out about your partner, but getting the message across and knowing yourself well enough. Maybe Larry King doesn't know himself well enough and therefore can't communicate, or maybe Larry King doesn't know how to engage in conflict or how to engage in arguments. So it's even though it's a valuable comment, I think in any communication, it doesn't mean just because you can run an interview that means you can actually communicate in a relationship.
Yeah. Ihsan sends us this message on Twitter. Who is the gentleman on SAFM? His name is Hanan Bushkin. And how can we get a podcast of the show? I'm not sure if we can give you a podcast. We'll try and find out if we can get you a podcast. We can get a podcast of the show. We'll try, Ihsan, and we'll get you all of those details. If you'd like to tweet Warate Mbuli Vuyo, text 34701. And if you'd like to tweet, of course, Warate Mbuli Vuyo, as you know, here on SAFM. Is communication really the cornerstone? I mean, walking away is a form of communication as well.
Well, as I said, you only walk away when you get to an emotional state, when you're no longer communicating.
Yeah.
Because when people...
Does it only have to be verbal?
Communication?
Yeah.
No, not at all. And as you'll see, something that I do want to discuss as well is body language.
Yeah.
Picture this. Imagine your partner's communicating with you, but their back is turned to you.
Yeah.
So you've got to watch your body language. So communication is run on a couple of levels: the verbal communication and the body language communication. Yeah. So am I crossing my arms? Am I covering my mouth? Am I turning away? So that's something very important that you've got to look out for. I wish we could do a body language show, but radio is a bit difficult for that. But body language is incredibly important because you're always sending a message with your body language. And if I turn away from you, whilst my verbal language is saying to you, I want to talk to you, my body language is saying, stay away, I'm not interested in engaging. So body language is an important part of communication.
But there's various forms of communication as well. I mean, text message and all of those things. How important are they also in building the relationships?
There's a really interesting story. I've got a patient, she's 94 years old.
Yeah.
The most incredible lady. And she says to me the other day, she says, Hanan, when I grew up, time was time. I said to her, what do you mean? Mm-hmm. She says if she wanted to speak to a friend in another province, she would write them a letter.
Yeah.
It would take 2 weeks to get there.
Yeah.
The person would write a letter. It would take 2 weeks to get back. So a month to say hello. These days, if you send a BBM or a WhatsApp or a message and God forbid the person reads it and doesn't respond right away. We live in a time where communication has lost it, because previously, if you had something to say, you needed to say it.
Yeah.
Because you can't, send a letter after letter after letter after letter. And these days, we say a lot, but we say nothing.
Yeah.
So whilst there are many different ways of saying things, whether it's email or BBM or messaging or through Twitter or through Facebook, we need to still, utilize the right principles of communication. Be honest. Say what you mean if you do want the other person to get you.
Okay. Here's another message on the text message line. Hanan, last year you explained a formula calculating the acceptable age bracket when you want to be involved with your partner to get you. Could you please repeat that? This is Mike in Bulukwan.
Oh, wow. Sure. If I remember correctly, I'll revisit it next week.
Okay.
But if I remember correctly, is you take your age and you halve it.
Okay.
And plus 7.
All right.
You take your age, halve it, plus 7.
Yeah.
That's the youngest age that you should be. That's your youngest age that you should have a partner.
Okay. I'm 45.
Yeah.
So 22 and a half.
So 29.
29. Okay.
You do
I
okay.
shouldn't go younger than
No,
29.
don't.
Why
Are
not?
you still within the bracket?
Why not?
No, it's more of a tongue-in-cheek thing. But
Yeah, okay.
we say you should roughly have a partner that's in the same phase of your life.
Yeah.
And therefore that's why.
So that's same phase of your life would be half your age
Plus seven. Yes.
Label, you got this? Half your age plus 7. Nothing younger. If you're going into a different age group here. Okay. Tom in Johannesburg says, I was getting a pencil. Please repeat the points under know yourself. Tom in Johannesburg.
Okay, so these are the questions that you should ask yourself and you should know.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know yourself, how do you communicate that to your partner and how can your partner guess? So 1, what are your goals in life?
Mm-hmm.
2, what makes you feel most satisfied?
Yeah.
I didn't ask you this because I didn't want to embarrass you, but sex means what to you?
Just something else. Just another thing. Just like eating.
Your deepest fear,
Yeah.
your deepest need. I worry most about what? My highest value, money is ... What does money mean to you?
Mm-hmm.
I'm passionate about ... And I think God is. So again, what are your goals in life? What makes you feel most satisfied? What does sex mean to you? What are your deepest fears? What are your deepest needs? You worry most about what? Your highest value, money means what to you? I'm passionate about what? And I think God is ...
Okay. Let me just look on the Twitter line at Mbuli Vuyo if we've got questions. If you'd like to write to us, remember we're at Mbuli Vuyo if you've got a question for Hanan. So, if people have got a good level of communication, either in the workplace or in a relationship or parent-child, is that a guarantee that the relationship is good?
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
It's a
Because
sign the relationship is good, but there may be other things that don't work.
Look, communication is your vehicle to solving issues.
Okay.
But sometimes the issues are unsolvable. For example, if your partner, let's just say, has maybe a different religion to you, and your non-negotiable is, I want somebody that shares my faith.
Yeah.
Then it doesn't matter how much you communicate, you're not going to solve that. Communication is just the first step, and it is a vehicle to sorting out issues and finding out whether you're compatible.
Okay.
But if you don't have communication, then you can't sort out anything. You don't have that vehicle to sort out the issues.
So communication is but a means to an end.
It's a means to sorting out the issues that do
Yeah.
come up in a relationship. And by the way, you do not find relationships in the world. There's not one relationship in the world that doesn't have issues. I say to couples that say to me, oh my God, we argue all the time. And I say to them, arguing is very healthy because it allows you to find out about the person and for the person to find out about you.
Yeah.
When I see couples and they tell me, we never argue, I know that's problems.
Yeah.
That's big problems. You should find yourself in a relationship where there's a back and forth.
If there's an argument, it's healthy. But if
very.
you argue too much, it's also unhealthy.
Well, if you argue and don't actually communicate.
Yeah.
Because if we're arguing about something and we keep on arguing about the same thing,
Yeah.
then we're not communicating.
You're not getting far with this.
Correct. You're actually
Yeah.
getting stuck. It's what we call quicksand.
Okay. Here's another question, but the person doesn't send the name. My husband got an affair on and off. When we talk about it, he tells me what I did 10 years ago.
So her husband had an affair.
Yeah.
Her husband
Says
had
got an affair.
Oh, he's got.
So it has
he's
an
busy.
affair. And on and off.
On and off.
Yeah. And then when we talk about it, he tells me what I did 10 years ago.
Yeah, no, that's not right.
Yeah.
So it's like an eye for an eye. 2 wrongs
Yeah.
don't make a right. So if
Yeah.
you had an affair, does it give me permission to have an affair
Yes.
as well? If your husband doesn't agree with what you did 10 years ago, then you should communicate and either leave you or fix it.
Yeah.
Right? But you can't just go and have an affair. And by the way, if that's your non-negotiable, communicate and say, I do not accept this.
Yeah.
I do not accept this, and obviously the consequences need to follow.
Okay. 0891 104 207, 0891 104 207. Do you find that people communicate better as they get older? Is it easier to communicate early in the relationship or later in the relationship when you know each other better?
Yeah, that's a good question. Look, when somebody meets when you go on a first date,
Yeah.
it's an interview, right? Because it's like a job interview. If
Yeah.
when we go for a job interview, we're not going to sit in front of our boss and say,
And
I'm actually lazy
Yeah.
and I don't really work that hard.
And
I
show
sleep
your
really
bad
late.
side,
Right,
yeah.
you never do. But in a first date, you never do that as well.
Yeah.
So take your first date with really a pinch of salt, because the person's not going to reveal.
How long does that first period end? I mean, is it how long do you begin to realize this person and who they are? They take off their shoes and their socks and they just leave them there 3 months, 6 months. Where is sort of your standard kind of threshold?
Okay, well, some couples that have been married for 20, 30 years still don't know each other.
I didn't know he could actually do this.
Exactly.
I didn't know she was like this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know what's interesting? I'll give you one quick advice in terms of relationships. And even though it's not really part of communication, but it's very good. To find out about the other partner, whether you go on a first date or a fifth date or 10th date or you've been married for 10 years, I urge you guys, please, to play.
Yeah.
I urge you to play. Because when you have fun with your partner, when you play, you find out a lot more about them than when you sit down in front of them and ask them. Play. Have fun.
Yeah.
So, for example, if you go on a date with someone and you decide, you know what, first date or second date or fifth date, let's go play 10-pin bowling.
Yes.
Right, let's go play 10-pin bowling. You will find out more in that hour or 2 hours that you're playing, way more about your partner than you do in real life speaking to one another. For example, let's say your partner, gets the shoes and they go, oh God, this is disgusting. I would never wear someone else's shoes. You find out something about them. If, let's say, you hit a strike and they miss, how do they react? Do they get angry? Do they get competitive?
Yeah.
Do they
congratulate you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You find out more about someone when you play. And whether you've been dating once or whether you've been married for 10 years or 20 years, I urge you to play.
And that will tell you a lot about the person.
Oh, yeah. That will tell you more than actually conversation.
Okay. All right. Hanan, thanks for coming in.
Pleasure. Great to be here.
Hanan Bushkin, we're talking about what is healthy communication in a relationship. All right. Lots of people want either a podcast. Could I please get a copy of Communicating in Relationships? This is lorraine.meyer@hotmail.com. Thanks. And then Vuyo, one time your guest gave a formula to calculate age different. Okay, that's the one. Peter from Grahamstown. It's half your age and then add 7 years. So if you are 19, then half your age. So you are what? 9.5 plus add 7 years. Okay, let me tell you, we will have a podcast and we will let you know when it is ready. So we will organize a podcast for you and then we will let you know when it is ready. Okay, when it is ready. Okay, when it is ready. Okay, when it is